Class, today I'm going to talk to you about coffee. It's one of mine and my husband's greatest passions in life. We love educating people and we love just about everything there is to love about specialty coffee. He is my audience today.
Hello.
And he is definitely my master and I am the grasshopper, and I hope I can do really well in this video for him. Specifically with coffee, I'm going to talk to you about the discovery of coffee, the growth of coffee in Europe and in America, and just some different ways you can consume coffee that you might not know about. So coffee was discovered before the 1600s. Obviously, they don't really know specifically when, but it was in Ethiopia, and legend has it, but it was discovered by a goat herder named Kaldi. That he was out with his goats one day and they came across a rare berry that he didn't know about, and he let them eat it and they went crazy. And according to the National Coffee Association of the United States.org, Kaldi ran to the monastery and he thought it was witchcraft, and he took it to the monks, and the monks ended up making a form of coffee, and they were able to stay up all night and do their prayers, and that's really where coffee originated, was in the monastery, which I think, you know, as a Christian, it comes from religion, and that's really cool. Since it's been discovered, what we know now as coffee originated in Arabia. They're the first ones to roast the beans and actually filter and have a clean cup of coffee, and that wasn't until the 1600s, according to PBS.org. In 1699, the Dutch were the leading coffee distributors to Europe. At first, people, though, were not into coffee. It was rumored that it was the devil's drink. It was very bitter. It wasn't anything like the teas they were drinking of those days, which were very sweet, and they put a lot of cream in them. And coffee, nobody sweetened it. It was black and bitter. And according to the internationalcoffee.org, at first coffee was mainly sold by lemonade vendors who believed to have magical powers. And so they thought it was just like a cure-all. It was very, folklore, and it didn't really take off. But when it did take off in 1683, that was somebody had the brilliant idea in 1683 to open up a coffee house in Venice, and it soared. It was definitely a community place. People went there with families, and it's just like what a coffee house is today. It had like a bar and seats, and actually a coffee house that was opened in 1720 still stands and operates in Venice. And so it just goes to show you that coffee really is timeless, and it's definitely a community, and it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. Coffee didn't come to America until around the 1800s. Americans drink mostly tea. That was where they got their caffeine, and they drink mostly tea and just beer, homemade beer. And coffee came around the 1800s. It wasn't very popular. Nobody really drank it. They had what they had. And it wasn't until the Boston Tea Party that it became very patriotic to drink coffee, because they were boycotting tea. And so coffee, right after the Boston Tea Party, just the price of coffee went up. Everything went up in coffee. And then in 1864, a pair of unnamed brothers decided to start the first American coffee roaster business. And they had no idea what they were starting, because now Americans are the leading coffee roasters and distributors in the entire world. Coffee in America is the second most traded commodity underneath oil. And so it really is one of the things that really helped America become what it is. According to Harvard University did a study in 2010 about how many people drink coffee every morning, and they said 54% of Americans drink coffee over the age of 18. And here we're getting to specialty coffee, and this is probably my favorite form of coffee. According to the Specialty Coffee Association of America, specialty coffee represents 37% of U.S. cups, and that is way more than I thought it was going to be, and that makes me really happy. That means that 37% of Americans who drink coffee every morning are drinking it out of a Chemex, or they're drinking it over a V60, or most of them are probably going to a coffee shop and getting a really good cup of coffee. And now I'm just going to talk to you about a few of the ways that people consume coffee. The V60 is my husband's favorite, because you can just make a really one-shot cup of coffee. And then there is the cold brew, And it's a slow drip coffee that goes in your refrigerator for 24 hours, and then you have a really potent, strong cup of coffee that we like to make iced coffee out of. Here is a bigger version of the V60. It's called a Chemex, and you can make 2 cups of coffee with that. You have a really good kettle. This is an AeroPress, and it's another one-shot coffee, and it doesn't really take a lot of talent or effort. You can just kind of push it down, and you have a good cup of coffee. And if you don't know anything about specialty coffees, I would definitely recommend looking into